will use your phone, you will take notes, and you will just figure out the one thing that stands out to you. Meditate on that for the rest of the week. And guess what? It's only one more day in the week. Thank you, Lord. My, don't let me get up and run around. One more day in the week. Because it's been a long week over here. It's been a long week over here. I see Travis in the house, Baltimore representing in the house. What's up, Travis Johnson?
What's up, Travis?
And I see Marsha representing Jersey City. And of course, our girl Shay representing Cleveland, Ohio. I see y'all YouTube. Nikhil is always. We're going to get started. First of all, I just want to ask y'all, Brian, I see you. What's going on? What's good? I want to ask y'all, do you even know what a boundary is? Like, most of us have heard about the importance of having good boundaries. You need to have good boundaries. We tell our children that all the time. You have your kids come up to you and they're like, Mommy, at the school, they're having a field trip, and I'm like, dude, you know what I'm saying? You back up, have you heard of like, you need to have arm's length between you and another person in order for there to be good boundaries in terms of physical space? Well, that's true. And there also needs to be some arm's length between you and your partner when it comes to good emotional space. And very strong bondship. Couples to one another, they tend to, be real cuddly, and I know I tend to want to be in his pocket all the time. Where you going? You going to Home Depot? Let me want to ride with you. Where you going? You going to the movies by yourself? You want me to go with you? Where you going? But tell the truth and shame the devil. What you do?
What you mean? What I do?
What do you do? If I do that, do you do that too? You don't do it in the same way.
I do that sometimes, but I am the one that's more so inclined to like dip out to the movies. And
yeah, that's not where we were going. I'm saying you be up on me just as much as I'm on you.
I do. I can't even lie about that. And I enjoy it too.
Yes. So we do enjoy it. Mm-hmm. And it's important to have connection and to have time that you create for one another. But oftentimes what couples sometimes get confused about is not okay, all that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. What they don't understand is that boundaries are necessary. Good, strong, healthy boundaries are necessary so that relationships can thrive and be everything they need to be, so that you can be everything you need to be. My brother, I'm gonna need you to go over here.
Okay, I'm gonna go there in 1 second.
No, I need it right now.
Why you need it right now?
Right now, because I'm ready to go there. Like, we're not. No, so then go ahead, talk.
So my question for you is that when you think about boundaries, when you think about boundaries, like what is the first feeling that comes up to mind for you? What do you feel when you hear the word boundary?
What is a boundary?
What do you feel?
Especially in relationships.
What do you feel when you hear the word boundaries? It's kind of crickets right now.
Y'all know what feelings? Y'all know what them joints are? Do you know what they are? What is it? Somebody said, 529, comfortable perimeters of mutual understanding around and within the relationship. I was about to crack on you like you're getting off, I'm told up, but that thing actually makes sense. It sounds really good. She said comfortable perimeters, right? That usually is what is around the relationship. You know what I'm saying? A mutual understanding around and within the relationship. Lakista, I hope I said your name right, said distance. And a lot of people think about boundaries as distance. That's very common. Julia says respect. Yeah, giving respect. There's a boundary that we must always respect, okay? So Bruce is gonna try to call you out and say, stop using Google, 529, stop using Google. So look, here it is, y'all. Essentially, what you want to be looking for in terms of good. Wait a minute. Look, can you?
All right. Bill says in a relationship, it sounds like secrets.
Oh, you see how that comes in? Secrets. Mm-hmm. Right. But boundaries are healthy, and they can strengthen our connection, and they can bolster the bond in your relationship. It is often described as where I begin and you end. Right? There is some level of separation and distinction between who I am and who I be and how I flow, and what you do and how you be and how you flow. And so much of how we roll as couples, is joint. We are unified, and we do a lot together, or at least represent as a couple, as a unit, as a family. But we have to understand where we are. And when there are not good boundaries, couples oftentimes lose themselves. Yeah. The individuals in the couple unit lose themselves. You're like, Yeah. Oh, yeah. I guess I did used to like that. I did before we got married, or before I got with her, before I got with her. It's for couples to be able to develop themselves individually. And if you are developing yourself individually, you automatically enrich the relationship and better your couple unit, your relationship. So here's 5 things. We want y'all 5 things, five things that we're going to give you where you need to set boundaries in your relationships. Successful couples have these boundaries. Rate yourself like where I'm at. And if you're not in a couple relationship right now, that's all right. That's okay. You want to make sure you take it into your next relationship. But before we get started, I need you to share the video. Mm-hmm. Can you just share the video? Can you just share it a little bit? Okay. Do you share it? Do you share it? Please share it. All right. So Aaron said, how do you set boundaries? Aaron, we're going to get to there. He like, look, all right, we get it. We need boundaries. How do you do it? Tell me how you do it. Okay. So we'll get to there in a moment. I want to shout out Jeffrey Johnson representing the DMV. And we happen to work together. Good grief. Mm-hmm. But can I get a break? I don't really often say that because I like to be with him so much. But you know what? When I do find myself doing my own thing, when he's doing his own thing, it's good. It's good. And it enriches the relationship. Mm-hmm. Because guess what happens when you have good personal time? Your partner gets to see you and observe you in your own element, because you have now had the opportunity to engage with yourself, with your crew, with your own world, individual, build up more kind of like what you like to do, how you like to flow. And you're doing that on your own. And so then they get to like, oh, look at him. And I said this to my husband earlier when we were talking about this. My husband has gotten into fitness and taking care of himself, and he did the Savage Race. Y'all heard of the Savage Race? He did that joint like a few weeks ago. No, in a few weeks. It was couple months ago. I don't know.
It was about a month ago.
A month ago. So he did that. And so just watching him prepare for that, him getting more into, his fitness, he like, come on out here and run with me. I'm like, nah, but yeah. And this kind of, I want to just pause right here for a second. Somebody said like, how do we do that? Right? Like how? We have so many couples who ask us that, right? How? And oftentimes one of the strategies that we use pretty consistently in our counseling and coaching of other couples is that we give them homework, right? And we give them very specific things that they need to do. We hold them accountable. We check in with them. So he may be doing that with the brother. I may be doing that with the sister. And we're doing that repeatedly and consistently, telling you, saying here, there is no scientific equation, okay, where you will understand, oh, this is how it's done. It's only done through the element of taking risk, of getting it wrong, because you took the opportunity and you tried to get it right. You have to be willing to do something, to jump out there and get going in terms of taking risks and doing some things. And that it's normal and it's okay to have a rough time and not know, how to do things, but you gotta be willing to take a risk. So we talked about setting a boundary around personal time, right? When we talked about that, I want to talk about this for a minute. We have to set a boundary around how we communicate. We got to set a boundary around how we communicate, okay? If you all don't do that, and so YouTube, I just want to say to y'all, I don't know what's going on with YouTube. Y'all saying we kind of going out and coming back. Hopefully we're back and we're good. Let us know, Bryant, Devontae, Multishare. Let us know how we're doing and if we're back in effect. But look, y'all, we said this not that long ago on one of our live streams. Look, you have to have a process. You have to have a process for how you communicate, particularly when you issues and very difficult things. And what that means is that you have to know when the other person is feeling some type of way, right? And there should be some signs or some things that the other partner can pick up on. You should be able to have an understanding on some level of what your partner's triggers are. You might need to take a break, and y'all should both recognize when one person says, hey, like I need a break, you're not saying, what you need a break for? Like for what? You know what I'm saying? Like, you're not trying to have this conversation. We need to have it. No, like you all already know that's the process. You have to have a process for communication, and you have to have boundaries around that. And then you must respect the boundaries. You cannot put them in place and then disrespect them because you are emotional and you're not willing to stick to the process and respect the process. So that one is easier said than done. I will say it's easier said than done, but I will also say this: couples who have boundaries, silent treatment, all of that stuff, that don't work. You have to have boundaries around how you communicate, because what are you creating? You're creating safety in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
You're creating and say something that might be look, but you know what? We have a way that we address it. So that's another place to set a boundary. Set a boundary around how you communicate and set a boundary around your personal time. Those are 2 out of 5. We count down.
And so you trying to rush this thing already? No. I mean, you putting this thing on the time clock already? Did y'all see how I looked up in reference to a boundary? Please do.
Yeah.
But as it pertains to this whole communication piece, it's critical with the communication piece and establishing boundaries, because there should be some words, some phrases, some people that are just extremely off limits when it comes to you conversing with your broke Negro.
So what now?
Broke ass Negro. Some people have a tendency to throw that thing up. Some people might say bitch ass nigga. And so that stuff right there becomes an issue in relationships. Because again, the man don't want to hit it, the man don't need to him, and you step into a that thing. Mm-hmm. Just cut that. Again, your man is he's supposed to be your king. You're supposed to be edifying him, lifting him up in a relationship versus tearing him down. So again, that type of language should be off limits. And then vice versa. Your wife, your woman ain't you need to elevate your queen, respect your queen, and honor her, and don't be using derogatory language to reference her.
Unless she give you permission.
Unless she give you permission.
I'm just playing. Go ahead.
Oh, where are you going with that?
Keep it moving.
Where are you going with that?
Nowhere.
Are we going to be talking about that in terms of the boundaries around sex? Is that what we
keep it moving?
Okay. So again, make sure that you're being mindful with the language, the words that you use, and then also lifting up certain people. You want to bring in house another dude or another woman is doing something for their spouse? No, you're crossing the line there, y'all. There should be a boundary in terms of what you bring into your relationship, how you reference other people, other situations, and you got to be extremely careful, because again, you're contaminating the environment in your relationship when you decide to bring other people's stories, situations, and you don't even know their backstory or their history, but you're bringing it into the relationship, and then that becomes problematic, because again, your partner is like, I'm not them, this ain't us, so why are you lifting up them? Why are you bringing them into our situation? You need to respect and honor me for me. Don't talk about them. Let's talk about us. You spend all day long talking about what other people are doing, but you ain't focusing on what you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. Teach. Okay, so we got you 2. So here's number 3. You need to set a boundary around responsibility. Did y'all hear that? Set a boundary around support versus responsibility. Y'all like, what she mean by that? What's that mean? Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm gonna give y'all an example. So when did I get my radio show? In March?
Yeah.
Okay, so in March. So it hasn't been that long. I'm here in the DMV, and WPFW 89.3 FM on Mondays at 1 p.m. I've had a sub coming in and helping me out lately, but I'll be back on the air this coming Monday. And so when I got that opportunity, I was like, "Sight, y'all!" Like, "Oh yes," because I have always had a love for talking of any kind, right? And then the ability to have the opportunity to get on air, to be able to create the dynamic that I want to create, highlight the things I want to highlight. Oh, I was ready, right? But guess what? What y'all think is required if you got a radio show? What's required? You got to be organized. You got to be reaching out to people. You have to make sure that you have your topics together, that you are engaging your guests, that you're giving them the parameters of how to come on and where to go and all these different things. And so I produced the show, and I do have some help with the engineer on the show, at the station, but there's a lot that I also have to put into creating the structure for how things are done. So y'all, who y'all think I was looking? Who you think I was looking to? Come on, somebody got the type that, who you think I was looking to? Like, oh, dang, okay, I got to get this ready. I got to do this. I'll be like, baby, you think you can do this? You think you can do that? And one day, I had something going on, and I wanted my husband to go on and to be on for me, right? To do the show. And he said, look, yeah, there you go, Trinity, my husband. That's right, because we just used to that, right? He said, look, and it hurt my feelings, y'all. Who hurt my feelings so bad? I got mad as hell. I wanted to cuss you out. I really did. I never expressed that. You didn't even say nothing bad. I was just mad.
What did I say now?
I was just mad. I was just mad that you was being honest.
I called you out.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because he said, look, I'm gonna go on, because he got his own life. He's doing his own thing. He was like, look, I'm here. I'll support you, but like, you really need to get this thing together. You need to get some order and some organization of what you're doing. And you need to pull your process together, because Like this last minute want me to come in and substitute for you. Like, nah, like I'm not. I was like, what? Right? So back to the teaching point.
That's boundaries.
Right? That's boundaries. He had the ability to understand that there's a difference between support and responsibility. He can support, but it's my responsibility to do what I need to do for what it is that I say I'm committing to. And we can often guilt each other, whether it has to do with something like the example we just gave, whether it has to do with the kids or, anything, right? Bills, whatever. But we have to understand that it is not our partner's responsibility to take on our stuff because they love us and to take care of us and help us out because they love us. No. We can set a better boundary when it comes to making sure that we're taking care of ourselves and that we are being supportive, yet I'm not about to take on your responsibility, your job. You asked for that. You signed up for that. You said you was going to do it. Okay? And so we got to not feel bad about that. Oftentimes, we will put a boundary down and then we feel bad. Part of the process. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're going to feel bad. And keep the boundary there. Do that in the process.
And you know what? And so just to lift this piece up too, when it comes to us being in a relationship, there is an element of enmeshment. I think that you and I have.
Well, first define enmeshment. You think we do?
Yeah, I mean, when you're so intertwined and almost in some situations it can be perceived as being unhealthy. In some situations, yeah.
Okay, maybe in some situations, but not in general. Well, I mean,
nah.
I just want to do this. Enmeshment, y'all, for those who are watching, is a description of a relationship. I had to Google it, Bruce. And enmeshment is a description of a relationship between two or more people in which personal boundaries are permeable and unclear. This often happens on an emotional level in which two people feel each other's emotions, or when one person becomes emotionally escalated and the other family member does as well. So basically, else is feeling. Okay. And you, it's not yours. It ain't for you. You need to have boundaries and allow them to work it out themselves. Right. And so when you are enmeshed, you're not able to do that. And then you end up trying to compensate for other people. And it's just a dysfunctional hot mess. I don't know that we enmeshed, but I know.
I mean, a situation.
You got an example?
I don't, but I know what
I know you got
what has led to enmeshment, and that's codependence. And so me operating from a space of codependence at times has led to us being enmeshed, and so I'm lifting this up to say that
us or you,
us. I'm lifting this up to bring home the point that when you're relationship and there's an element of codependency present, you can feel bad, you can feel guilty, you can feel like, damn, I need to make sure that I'm taking care of my partner, that I'm handling my business for my wife or handling her business for her. And so you assume responsibility when really, again, you should be standing your ground and remaining firm in terms of supporting and not necessarily assuming a responsibility for your partner or the things that they've agreed to do. And so it's unhealthy when you're constantly operating from that space. So make sure that you do support. We're advocating supporting, but at the same time, too, making sure that you have clear boundaries so you're not assuming the responsibility of your partner, especially when they've agreed to do certain things. Make sure that boundary is clear.
Mike Damon, answer to your question, yes, I will be posting more radio shows online in the future. And 36 Soybean, you said, what does that mean? Give us enmeshment. Okay, so I guess we went on ahead and defined that. Okay, so all right, so we've done 3.
Yeah.
Right. We talked about making sure you have a strong boundary because successful couples have strong boundaries around your personal time. We talked about making sure you have boundaries around how you communicate, which means you should have a process. What's up, Vivian? Vivian Wilson, we see you. And also around support. Like, I support you, but that don't mean it's my responsibility. Right. And so making sure that setting up sexual intimacy. Ooh, yeah. So what does it mean to have boundaries around your sexual intimacy? A lot of times couples are arguing about sex. They don't think that they are having enough sex. It's not enough frequency, or they don't like the way that they're coming together. It's awkward to have conversations about sex. How much do you want it versus how much do you want it? And great, but I don't want to hurt his feelings. Well, she need to do better because she keep putting her teeth on it. You know what I'm saying? Whatever. Okay. Like, it's awkward. And so it's hard to have these conversations around the sexual interaction, the relationship, but it is so important. If you don't have boundaries around that, that means that there are certain things that I will do and there are certain things that I will not do.
Yeah.
There are certain things that I would like to experience and I'd like to go there with you on. And there's certain things, if you ever go there with me on it, I will have that ass. You understand? Right? Like, you have to have those conversations, because if people don't know where your boundaries are, and if you're not willing to talk about it, then somebody gonna try you. Not somebody, your partner is gonna try you. And then you're gonna get mad, but you ain't never had the conversation, or you're hesitant or unsure. And I just want to validate that that's normal, that you may be hesitant or unsure, but you want to make sure that y'all had that conversation and you set up some boundaries. You know, we had a couple few years back, and I don't know what it was. The brother was just, he was so, I mean, I want to say about 4, 5, 6 sessions. He was focused on, he wants to have anal sex. You remember this?
Yeah.
He wanted to have anal sex. He wanted to process that thing out in our counseling sessions. And so we supported them with that. And, you know, wifey was like, look, it ain't never happened. It ain't going to happen. It's just not happening. It's not going down. It's like, just, that's my boundary. That's where I'm at. And so they were able to discuss and engage on that thing until they got to the place where they started at, where she was like, I said no. But see, they had to be willing to go there about, because what we supported them with is like, so what does that mean for you? That, like, what does that do? What does it bring up in you? What do you feel?
And what is the resistance
right?
about?
What is, of course you're gonna bring up what's the resistance.
I'm just saying,
about.
you got to think
But
about
that's
both
true.
sides. You know,
That's
what's
true.
the resistance?
They got to talk about that.
And that's really the important piece, y'all. A lot of y'all are not lifting up conversations or important topics that need to be addressed because you're afraid, you're concerned, you're scared about how your partner's going to respond. Now, that's a problem because you're not having an authentic experience in a relationship. And so if you're making a choice consciously to like withdraw or withhold a question, a comment, a statement, a concern, a desire, then you're not being you in a relationship.
Right.
And so again, you want to make sure that you're elevating what your concerns are and expressing them. And you can only do that when you're conversing with your partner. Mm-hmm. If you're failing to do that, then you're denying yourself an opportunity to grow. You're also denying your partner an opportunity in a relationship to grow as well. And so don't hold back on those things. It's important to converse. It don't mean you're going to get a yes.
But it doesn't mean you're going to get a no.
It doesn't.
Because what you just said is so important. A lot of times we don't know the why. Like, why is my partner so bent on doing this thing or wanting to have this kind of sexual experience? Or why is my partner so resistant, right? And so, for example, you know, if it's, you know, I don't want to do fill in the blank because, you know, I don't ever want to find myself in a place where I don't have control, right? Then the issue is not the act. The issue is I need to feel as though I have some level of control and clarity about what's happening. And you can, you know, y'all can work together to be able to create that and do the act, right? Like but you'll never know like what the issue is.
People say, I know my wife.
You know?
I know my husband. Like I've heard guys, you know, and women say, especially when it comes to the whole issue of threesomes, like I know my spouse, like they're not going for that. So what's the point of even bringing it up? And so again, if this is a fantasy, if this is a desire that you have, relationship growth is really about exploration. It's really about unfolding. And so if you fail to share what's going on in your inner world, then what you're failing to do is to be vulnerable and expose yourself to your spouse, which is then preventing them from having a deeper glimpse of who you are as a person. And so it's not to say that you're going to act on it. It's not to say that they're going to say yes, that they're okay with that. What it is to say is that this is who I am.
Right.
And ultimately, that's what you want in your relationship. You want to be able to say to your partner, this is who I am. And I want you to love me as I am. It doesn't mean that you got to agree with me, but just love me.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. How many of you all have or have had, trying to keep y'all safe out here, but have had a sexual fantasy that you have not been able to share with your partner, whether it's your current partner or perhaps a past relationship? Just say I. Okay. Anybody know I? Just say I. Just Put an I, like, yep, yes, put a Y or I. Yes, that's me. I want to know how many people have, had that. All right. I see Stephanie Maxwell's in the house. What's up, Stephanie? And I see Blair Fry. So yeah, I mean, a lot of people, we all have that
We got some couples on
that
here
part
too.
of ourselves.
One partner is looking like, is my partner gonna say something?
What's up? Brian said, Brian said, I got two eyes. Yes, right. And you keep it to yourself. All right. Thank you, Jay. Jay Smith is keeping it real and keeping it 100, as is Devon, Simone. So,
it's okay.
This is common, y'all. I asked y'all to do that because it's common. It ain't like it's, what I'm saying? We all got that, right?
And if your boo is on this live stream right here, it's an opportunity after this goes off for y'all to have a conversation.
So what you about to say?
I'm just saying that if you're saying I in this live stream as well, y'all need to be talking after this live stream.
And if your partner isn't on, you can also you can send them this video and be like, yeah, what do you think about that? Right? Let me go ahead and lift that up. If you're watching us right now, we want you to share this video. It's not too late. We are getting close to the end now, but it's not too late to share. Go ahead and share this on your page or send it to a friend. We'd appreciate that. We very much appreciate that. Last and not least, this is the last boundary. Again, if you're just joining us tonight, we're talking about 5 relationship boundaries you better have if you want to have a successful relationship. We've already talked about setting a boundary around your personal time. You need to be able to do you, essentially, okay? And y'all ain't got to be up in each other's face all the time. You need to be able to set a boundary around how you communicate. You must have a process. You cannot just be flipping off, doing and saying whatever, whenever. That doesn't work. Not with mature, real grown folks who are really intentional about how they are in relationship with one another. You have to have a boundary around support versus responsibility. I support you, but that don't mean that's my project. Okay, you need to work that out, and I'll support as I can. And then you also need to have a boundary around sexual intimacy, communicating, sharing what it is that's on your heart, what's in your mind. If you can't say it, write it. But you need to be able to talk about it, and you need to be able to say, this is where I'm not feeling it. I ain't good with it. And you have to be willing to make sure that your partner knows where you are. So I don't know if you can hear us. Hopefully y'all are still able to capture us because there's some connection activity going on, issues going on. But we're going to go on to number 5, the very last situation. And we want you to make sure that you take this one in too. And this is around what, my boo?
I mean, setting a boundary around what's public and what's private.
So you want to make sure that in your relationship, you are clear about what is public and what is private. So we talked earlier about the fact that both of you are individuals. You got to have your own personal. Man, I'm sorry, YouTube folks. Our
phone down is plugged up.
You must not be. You must ain't do that right. You got to make sure that as you move along, that you all are communicating about what's public and about what's private. And so there are certain things that your partner may be comfortable with sharing and you are not. There are certain things that you are like totally against and you want to keep it private. We're not talking about that with our friends, with our family. You know what? But I'll go ahead and, talk about it. That's what you may be thinking. So you have to make sure that y'all talk about that. Like, what is it that you all can share? Who do you share with? Certain things are off limits for in-laws. Certain things are off limits for friends. Y'all got to talk about what those things are because for every couple it's different. There is no exact way to do it, but you've got to make sure that you all discuss the issues that come up and that you talk about what you're comfortable with. A lot of people are not comfortable with sharing don't share our financial situation. You know what I'm saying? With these people. Don't share with nobody, right? And then the next couple says, I'm okay with that. Don't share our challenges. And the next couple is saying, well, we go to the elders at our church. So I hope that our YouTube thing is still on. We got some connectivity stuff going on tonight.
It might be the storm.
At the end of the day, you have to discuss it. You cannot assume that your way is the right way. You cannot, say you just need to get with the program. You can't do that. You have to talk about it, y'all. You have to make sure that you communicate. You all are always striving to be transparent, to hold each other accountable in love, and of course, to hold yourself accountable because none of these things we've talked about tonight and that we've given you tonight are going to do anything for you Ain't gonna do nothing for your relationship if you're not willing to stop playing.
Start pushing.
Start pushing, y'all. We see y'all next time.
All right,
Peace,
y'all.
y'all.
Peace.